This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction, and more times than enough, fiction is reality. We come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. Then the show is repeated on several networks around the world from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. And then more networks carry the same show the same day from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. when the entire cycle starts all over again. And of course, our two main networks, the Talkstar Radio Network and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And you know what? Our affiliates are growing right around the world. We're right across Canada, right across the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. If you'd like to give us a call, toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. That's 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. It is Thursday, April the 1st in the year 2010. I am off tomorrow because it is Good Friday, but I will be back live Monday. And I'd like to take this opportunity, as I always do, to wish each and every one of you a safe, happy, and, of course, cavity-free Easter. My first guest tonight is Doug Crowe, and the question I'm going to be asking Doug is pertaining to self-help gurus. Are they legitimate, or are they just snake oil salesmen? Now, Doug used to be that people looking for change in their lives turned to a self-help book. But in recent years, life coaches have popped up along with their books. And, you know, they're all over the place these days. All these so-called professionals claim to help people realize their goals and shed their bad habits. Now, are they snake oil salesmen, or the answer to your prayers? Well, Doug Crowe's been a student and teacher of success for over 22 years. His flagship company, Bexy, developed the world's first interactive book that guarantees accountability and success. With his exclusive Nagomatic system, quitting and procrastination become obsolete in your desire for health, wealth, and success. Joining me now is Doug Crowe. Hey, Doug, welcome to the X-Zone.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Doug, what's your background?
My background, like you mentioned earlier, 22 years as a student and a teacher of success. I was working at a TV station, ironically, right after college, and met one of these gurus who had, really promoted the whole no money down real estate system across the world. And I went up to him and asked him about his, how can I learn to invest in real estate? He told me about a $5,000 seminar that he was promoting. Here I'm making $3.10 an hour at a TV station, and he said, "Well, he saw a look on my face, saying, you probably can't afford a kid. So go to the library and check out one of my books." And that's exactly what I did. So I started buying real estate and became a pretty successful real estate investor. But along the way, I realized that, you know what, people, these seminars and whatnot just don't cut it for 99% of the people.
Well, then why do people keep flocking to these seminars and spending that $5,000 that they really can't afford?
Well, the bottom line is that these people, you know, I was included in this group because I was attracted to it, are not really selling solutions, Rob. They're selling hope. And hope has always been for sale. Hope's been a very, very, very lucrative business, whether it's religion or self-help or, you know, health clubs. People really want to hope for a better future, but the actual execution of it is what's missing.
Doug, stand by. You and I have to take our first 2-minute break. Exo Nation, Doug Crowe is our special guest. www.bexsi.org. That's BEXSI.org. And we'll tell you about some special promotions Doug has just for you with members of the Exo Nation on the other side of this commercial break as the Exxon begins for today, Thursday, April the 1st in the year 2010. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the Exxon, and we're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll be back in 2. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Doug Crowe's my special guest, Exo Nation, www.bexsi.org. And we're talking about self-help gurus. Are they really gurus, or are they snake oil salesmen? And Doug's been in the business of helping people for the last 22 years. And basically, Doug, if I understand you correctly, they're selling the wrong thing to the people, and yet people are just flogging and just can't wait to put the cash in their hand in order to get all this money back. And I would imagine that the success ratio is very low.
Extremely low. It's, Pareto's principle says 80-20 rule is a fact. It applies to combustion engines as well as people. And, 80% of people fail at everything they try. And probably one of the key reasons there is that they insert the word try into their paradigm, and that's setting them up for failure. If you, Hernandez, what's the guy that burned the boats when he went to invade Central America? When you burn the boats and don't have a plan B, and when you don't try, when you actually just do something, you see a lot more people have success with that type of attitude.
With billions being spent on self-help, Doug, why are we fatter, dumber, and less confident?
It goes back to accountability, which is the gist of my book. There are huge amounts of money being poured into weight loss and money scams and schemes online and elsewhere. And, people are just clamoring, especially in this economy, for some kind of lifeline to help them become, thinner and more active and wealthier. But their problem is they're focusing on the hype and the surface of the marketing is what people are what appeals to people. When you get into content and what's actually going on there, that's where you can separate the wheat from the chaff and say, listen, you know what? If this guy gives me some specific content that I find relevant, then it works. The problem is it's more important for people to want to get the things done faster, but that's not the way the human condition really operates. We all take change at a very, very slow pace. And I'm a big, I'm as guilty as anyone as being impatient to get things done. But unfortunately, for change in a person's mentality and action, it just takes time.
And the most of the infomercials for these shows that promote these people are on in the middle of the night when people can't sleep because they have so many personal problems, financial problems. I don't know which is worse, some of these self-help people or the psychics that have finally been kicked off the air.
It's funny. I'm not sure if, you've done this, Rob, but I've talked to people. I've spoken to thousands of people, and I tell the story about, I was up late one night thinking about other things, and I flipped through an infomercial, and the first 30 seconds I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. This guy is so overhyping everything. And within about 5 minutes, I'm like, well, that sort of makes sense. And about 12 minutes later, well, geez, that makes a whole lot of sense. And within 22 minutes, I got my credit card out. I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone as saying, you know what, that sort of makes sense, and for $39, why not give it a shot?
Doug. My
Especially like you said, you're drowsy, you're sort of sleepy, you're not really there.
My esteemed opinion of you has just been shot down in flames.
Well, that's because all the people who say they've never bought anything on TV, 90% of them are lying.
Well, I can tell you for a fact I have never bought anything on TV because my wife holds my credit card.
Congratulations. Good for you.
I learned that long ago. Listen, what practical advice can listeners use to motivate themselves permanently?
Well, that's the key word there you mentioned, Rob, is the permanent aspect of it, because anybody can join a health club on January 2nd and say, hey, I'm going to go lose 20 pounds this quarter. I'm going to go sign up and do that. And health clubs notoriously overbook their capacity on January 2nd because they know by January 20th that 80 to 90% of people quit on their New Year's resolution and quit on their goal. To get permanent change, a person has to reassociate whatever they're doing with something else. Here's what I mean by that. When you associate exercise with pain, you don't want to do it. When you associate it with feeling good, well, you look forward to it. The problem is going from pain to pleasure takes some effort, and it generally takes over 30 days for that change to happen, and that's generally the time where people quit. So associating a new experience with pleasure is one key thing. The second thing to do would be to associate your past with something positive. A lot of people look at their past and say, oh, geez, I tried that. It didn't work. Well, that's because you're associating your failure with what can happen in the future. So you got to really clean the slate and focus on what you gained, what benefit you gained, or what lesson you learned from your past in order to transfer that to your new change, whether it be health or wealth or success.
Doug, would you agree with me that in today's society, people expect results too fast and they're not willing to put 150% into their own success?
Absolutely. When I go back to the weight loss example, people, geez, they wake up at 52 years old saying, wow, where did this 40 pounds come from? And they expect to take it off in the next 30 to 60 days.
That's
and
right.
I'm saying, listen, buddy, you didn't put it on in 60 days. It probably took 10 years to put it on. Now, it doesn't take 10 years to take it off, but it's not going to happen overnight. You've got to actually change your metabolism and change your thinking. It's a process, whether it be weight loss or finances. They're both ingrained habits. The older you get, the harder it is to create those permanent changes in your mentality and your expectations.
Yesterday afternoon or last night I was talking on air with Carol Roth, and she is a business guru, and she was saying the biggest reason why entrepreneurs and new business owners fail is that they expect too much too fast and they're not willing to give it their all anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. People always underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years, and they overestimate what they can achieve in 90 days.
So would it be fair to say that some self-help gurus are liars?
Well, it's a pretty bold statement. I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you that when guys go out there and really appeal to, like you mentioned earlier, the least people who can afford it, the unfortunate people who really have their last, $4 or last $100, and say, I can help you, make you millions in 90 days. Yeah, they're lying. They're selling hope They're not selling a solution, and that's where the book I want to give your listeners, it's all about solutions and helping a person get the accountability they need to make a constant effort of that change. Because most people, you attend a seminar or read a book and you feel better for maybe, a few hours or maybe a day or so if it's a really good seminar. But within 3 days or 7 days, you're back to your old life. You've forgotten 90% of the feeling that you experienced and the knowledge that you supposedly gained.
And if the guy says, give me $5,000 and I'll make you $1 million, he's probably running a Ponzi scheme on the side.
Well, a lot of them, those are pretty easy to detect. And,
How?
Obviously with the Bernie Madoff and things like that have come to light. Those are really hard to do nowadays. Most people, I would say, they actually believe their own BS. They're selling their information or their content, and they really believe it'll work for people. The truth is, most people will quit, and that's just a numbers game to them. That's one of the funny story I had when I was at a school that I founded on real estate investing for years, and I gave my students everything. I mean, I gave them 20 years of my information, content, connections. I was at a seminar and I saw a guy in line for this other guru. It was a $30,000 weekend with this guy, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, Paul, why are you in line here?" He goes, because this guy's got this blah blah blah, this form or this syndication software. And I said, "Paul, I already gave that to you. It's on your disc that I gave you when you signed." Oh, people just want to buy stuff. They don't care about actually transforming their knowledge into actual action because it takes work. It's sometimes painful. It's more fun to buy and to have that feeling of hope without the work that's behind it.
Or is it the attitude of the quick fix?
Yeah, it's very much that as well. Speed is a wonderful thing, and all we have in life is time. So the more you can save of that, the better a person feels. Again, it goes back to feeling versus...
Sure. I don't know. I must be weird because I enjoy the challenge of hard work equaling success.
It's not weird, Rob. It's actually it's rare. And because of that rarity, that's why you are successful. And you talk to anybody who's actually made it, and they probably don't call it work. I mean, for a number of years when I had a job with somebody, that was work. Now that I'm independent like you know what? I don't really work anymore. Yeah. I may spend a lot more time in my passion, but associating it with the word work doesn't happen anymore.
Isn't that the truth? So what would be the 3 red flags, the top 3 red flags that listeners could look for to decide whether somebody is being slick or sincere?
Great question. The one thing people have to look for is that whenever there's a marketing message, whether that's an email, a blog, an infomercial, you've got to take your hat off and think, what is their agenda? Is their agenda to sell something? Of course. But what are they giving me right up front to entice me to give them money? If they give you actual content that you can use without any restrictions, that's a good sign. I subscribe to probably a dozen newsletters, but there's about 1 or 2 that I actually read in their entirety because the author is giving me hugely relevant and interesting content without trying to pitch me a thing. The guys who put a lot of affiliate links in their emails or the infomercials who just focus on the sale without giving any content, any kind of relevant information you can use, I just run away from them because they're just trying to sell you something.
It's a strange world out there. How many self-help gurus would you estimate are actually out there today?
Well, it's a lot more than you think. The ones that are nationally known, those are the guys that you see on TV or see in newspaper or magazines. There's dozens and dozens of what I call Tier 1 gurus out there. But there's a whole slew of the Tier 2 people who are industry-specific. People, like you mentioned, the life coaches. There are thousands and thousands of life coaching you on life. And one of the red flags to watch for is to find out, okay, what's their background? Thank goodness for the internet. We can go and look up a person and find out what is their background. What have they achieved? What have been their failures? How did they redeem themselves to become a qualified coach in this arena? I looked up one. It was so funny. I remain nameless, but a person who was a relationship counselor, very huge, nationally known relationship counselor. Did a little research on her 5th marriage. And you know what? I didn't say that to disparage her because maybe she's teaching what she needs to know the most, which is true for a lot of people. You teach what you need to learn the most. And maybe her advice is actually really, really relevant. And maybe marriage isn't for her. She just doesn't know it yet. I don't know.
Hey, Doug,
it's just fun to look up people's background because you find out, what's their background, how does it relate to the message they're giving us.
Doug, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation Doug Crowe is our special guest. www.bexsi.org. That's www.bexi.org. And Doug and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and X Zone Broadcast Network.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. And of course, if you're wrong, you can always go to a self-help guru. Why do you have to go to a self-help guru? What is the draw? What motivates people to go take $5,000 out of their pocket, give it to a total stranger, and then just say, oh, well, I guess it didn't work? And you were telling us, Doug, earlier about somebody that you know who actually spent $30,000 for a weekend with one of these gurus.
No, actually, it was better than that because I went to this seminar as just to learn, to pick apart the psychology and how this whole selling of hope versus solution thing is working. And the guy was a great speaker, phenomenal. And one of my students who had enrolled in my school was in line for this guy, and I'm like, why? He already spent thousands of dollars on my academy, which is not a weekend deal. I had a 10-week class,
right?
And he was going to spend $30,000 with this guy. I went up to him and said, "Why are you doing this?"
And he already
said,
had
because he's got some syndicated software that I wanted to buy. And I said, I said, Paul, that's already on the disc that I gave you.
Unreal.
And I had given my students 22 years of my contacts, knowledge, and information about real estate investing, which was worth thousands. But I just said, listen, I don't want you to buy anything else. I want you to invest in your education one time and be done. That's not what people want. People enjoy buying. He wanted to buy something that day. He was in the mood to buy, not to have something solved.
I'm going to give you a parallel. I used to do all the psychic shows and all the psychic fairs and take our show there and do it. And I would see the same people go from psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic to, $80, $100 each time. And,
wow.
And that boggled my imagination. Like, why would you do that? Why would you take your hard-earned money? Why do you need someone else to tell you how to live your life? Are people that insecure? Are they that desperate for success that they're willing to pay money time after time after time after time to make it?
It's also worse than that to think about, because a person goes to a psychic more than once, didn't like the first answer, or was so adrift in their life they didn't realize they were in complete control of their outcome, and they were thinking, what's going to happen? They didn't realize that the answer is inside them. Well, whatever you want will happen.
Exactly.
And since they don't know, they're going to get a different message from all these psychics, whether they're real or not. They're going to get a different message because the future is totally unwritten with that person, because they haven't decided what they want and inked out a plan to achieve it.
You see, you would make a lousy psychic because you're honest.
Well, it's been a curse in business, but I'm going to stick to it.
Hey, I know the feeling. All right, we spoke briefly about the internet, but how has the internet revolutionized the self-help gurus' marketing capabilities?
Well, it has gotten better. I got to say, for the consumer, initially, the past 10 years, it was a little bit dicey because people, it used to be, wow, you got a website, you're somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, anybody can get one. Like, geez, my 13-year-old daughter can have a website, and she can pretend to be a 55-year-old stockbroker and probably pull it off. But the advantage to the internet nowadays is the whole, Web 2.0 thing, is that people are skeptical. Mm-hmm. They are getting smarter about the information that's out there. And I put in my book a very clear idea how to sniff out the garbage and get to the agenda of the person delivering the content, and to make sure that, this person has an agenda to sell something, they're in business, but are they going to give me more value than I expect? Are they going to over-deliver on their content and under-deliver on their price? Like, listen, this is going to be, $500 for the stuff, it's going to be, $99 or whatnot. There's a couple of people I know in the industry who actually give away their content, like I'm going to do for your listeners, for free. Listen, I'm just here to develop a loyal fan base. I just want you to like me. So I'm going to give you my book for free, the entire book, no restrictions whatsoever. I'm going to give you an electronic format. You go to bexy.org. I'll give all your listeners a free copy of the book.
Wow!
And for the first 25 who actually go on there and want a physical copy, I'll give them a copy as well. I'll mail to them. Shipping's on me. The book's on me. Absolutely no cost whatsoever. I want to do that for you, Rob, for your listeners, because I am unique in the industry. I'm not trying to sell them anything right now. Of course, there's going to be an interactive book I'd love them to take a look at. In order to do that, I've got to give more than I receive.
And that's www.bexsi.org. Well, that's a great offer. No wonder people like you. What are you, the modern-day Santa Claus?
I'm sorry, the what?
The modern-day Santa Claus? The guru of Santa Clauses?
Sometimes when I was teaching real estate investing, I had a good reputation in Chicago because all my seminars were free. Mm-hmm. I didn't charge for them. I just loved to give out the way of content. And, my radio show was, obviously free. And people tuned into it, and they appreciated the fact that I was unique. I wasn't trying to sell them overtly initially. I have a business, I have a product to sell, but I don't have the right to sell that until they like me, know me, and trust me. And that takes time to develop.
Certainly does. How does accountability relate to self-improvement?
It's the big missing piece. And the reason that I'm so passionate about this topic is because of the self-help industry being just, rife with hope and very little solutions. Accountability is another, a challenge and a mindset a person has to really, get in tune with. But when you're actually accountable to your goal, there is no question of if anymore. Mm-hmm. When take an example of Marines, they never, no man left behind.
Yeah,
they do that for a reason, all right? Because if you're accountable to the guy next to you, you don't have to worry about being left behind, whether you're alive or dead or wounded. You're gonna come home, and being accountable to that person eliminates a lot of fear, a lot of doubt, and emboldens person to make their mission a reality versus a hopeful type of thing. So that will work in losing weight, in making money, in starting a business, in anything. But being accountable is it's tough for people. They really don't want to be accountable. They want the quick fix. So my message doesn't appeal to everybody. It only appeals to people who are serious.
Tell us about your interactive book.
Well, this is the part that was a lot of fun for me to create. I had, like a lot of people, students of success, there's, I think, over 250,000 titles on Amazon.com for self-help, self-improvement. I think I own about 900 of them. And these are all great books, by Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar. All these guys are really interesting books. But after you're done reading it, you do tend to, if you don't apply, you're going to forget most of what you read. And it always bothered me. So I invented a system whereby a person actually can read my book, who I'm going to give your listeners for free. And there's a couple stories in that book, and I don't finish a story. It's a very compelling story about a lady who's an armless pilot, or a story about somebody who had a trauma in their life. I don't finish the story. They got to go online to finish the last page. When they're there, they can fill out a quick survey, about 12 questions, and then they can get my book, which is actually their book. what happens is they get a book delivered to them in the mail with their name on it, their picture in the back cover. It's written in their personality style, and inside the book is their spouse, their kids, their goal. And there's a daily message on this Nagomatic system I invented that reminds them through their cell phone, through their email, every day of what they said they wanted to achieve. And it reminds them, it helps them with that change, and it holds them accountable to what they said they're going to do.
How did you come up with the Nagomatic? I love that name.
It was by happenstance. I had a person who was not doing very well in school, and his study habits were weak. And I said, you know what? If you got reminded every day at 3:30 to just open the books for half an hour first before you went out and played, would that help? And it probably helped with my studies. So we started doing that, and it was a little bit nagging. It was nagging him to go out and study first and play later. Well, that's what we all need. That's the message we all need. If you're losing weight, you got to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Who does that? You forget. You don't establish that habit. So by nagging someone in a nice way, but the text messages, the emails, the voicemails all come written in the language of the person speaking, because I fill up this survey. It's written to them in a first person. Hey, this is your conscience talking. There's a devil and angel on your shoulder. It's time to listen to the angel.
Who's used your system so far, and what are some of the success stories that you can share with us?
Well, I've got a bunch. The student is one of my most, I'm very proud of that, because that one's basically a gift I gave to a student. I'm probably going to roll it out to a bunch of other high school students across the country, and I'm going to work that out on a nonprofit basis for the education in the country. One of my best success stories is a direct sales organization. There's about 3,000 people in this organization up in Chicago, actually, and they're all Hispanic. And I converted my entire book in Spanish for them. And it's one of these. It's a network marketing company, right? So they've got not just 80% attrition rate; they have like a 90% attrition rate. And because people get in, they get out of these things. And I said to the leader, I said, "What if we could just cut that down by 10% and just have these people interact with the book? They get their own custom book. They get the Nagomatic thing to hold them accountable to what they're supposed to do, and we cut their attrition down by a whopping 10%, which is not a lot, but in that industry, by increasing their retention by 10% and their sales by 10%, they had a 400% increase in sales.
Wow!
And then my latest one that we're developing is for chronic pain patients who are on short-term disability, and they want to get back to work, but the pain they have, the chronic pain, is so overwhelming it spills over into their social, business, and family life. And by having to remind them of the exercise and the healthy choices they have to make, and associating pain with something pleasurable versus the debilitating aspects of it, we're seeing great numbers of them getting back to work sooner than they had previously.
What one piece of advice do you have for our listeners? I mean, besides going to your website at bexy.org and getting their free copy, because I think that's a wonderful thing, and I want to thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate your listeners deserve it. So, yeah, please go ahead and do that. The one last piece of advice I would really want to encourage people to think about is we all have two voices in our head, Rob. There's the, the devil and angel on our shoulder is the best way I describe that. But when we go out and make a choice and do something, there's someone that says, do this, some other voice that says, do not do this. And the hard part is sometimes the devil's dressed up like the angel. You know what? I'm going to sneak that one piece of chocolate because I worked out today, so I deserve it. Wrong answer. It's a lifestyle choice. You don't reward yourself by working out, by doing something that's bad for your body. So my advice is, when you have those two voices in your head, always go with the first clear choice. Go with your instinct. Go with your gut. When you trust your intuition, we've all had this happen to us, we're almost always right.
Tell me, as a professional at Delton Real Estate, what do you think of the state of the real estate market in the U.S. right now? Well, that was
bad. I was fortunate enough to get involved with some offshore projects in Belize a couple of years ago, and I'm helping a friend develop a private island down there. I love the U.S. It's the greatest country on earth, along with Canada, of course. And the U.S. real estate market will not rebound quickly. There's a whole bunch of new adjustable loans that are starting to come due now this year, so we're going to see it languish for a few more years. If someone's going to be investing right now, they better just be in buy and hold mode, which has always been good in real estate, and they better be getting the deal. There's no sense paying retail for the foreseeable future.
What do you think the interest rates are going to do?
they'll stay low until we run out of money, and the printing presses can't keep up, and then things are going to get ugly.
Oh, and then all they have to do is go to Staples and buy some Lexmark printers, and away you go. You know
what? Or maybe we'll go back on the gold standard or something. No, probably that's not going to happen. It's not good. I've seen the charts on the economy, and I was on a MSD Forbes on a Forbes cruise last year, and the Medicare payments in the next 15 years are going to exceed the entire national budget. So.
All right,
it's not good.
Okay, the health care bill that was just passed, do you see this working?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's just going to be another disaster waiting to happen?
I have a feeling, and I hope I'm right, this is my opinion, of course, I have a feeling that it's not going to work and that it won't go through. It'll either get defeated or unfunded, or something's going to happen where it doesn't have the traction that other sweeping changes had. When Clinton passed the Welfare Reform Act years ago, that had a lot of support. More than 60% of people supported that. Here we've got about half the people supporting it, and even though some of those are not really 100% happy with it, I think reform is probably needed, but not at that level, not in that manner. So we'll see. I have a feeling that it'll get rejected and redone somehow.
Have you thought of sending President Obama a copy of your book?
Well, as a coincidence, I'm going to do that underground method. I actually met with a guy yesterday. I'm going to work on, I've got a connection in the Mexican government, so I'm going to be going down there first. But I might send him a copy, I figured if I could help out the, underdeveloped country first, he'd be a good example for the United States.
A number of people have come on the show, and the reality of the state of the U.S. is that if everyone went into the bank and demanded their money, the states would be bankrupt. Or if the people from the Far East who own 60% of the notes came and said, all right, we want payment now. We're in a very, 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 what's the right word here?
Collapse of Western civilization?
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. I was going to be a little softer, but you said it the way it should have been said. There you go. Listen, you and I have to take our final break. Doug, please stand by. XO Nation, to get your copy of Doug's book, go to www.bexsi.org. That's bexy.org. And if you'd like to see Doug's website, it's www.dougcrowe.com, and Crowe is Crowe. Doug and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and the Talkstar Radio Network. 68 degrees outside our studios here in Hamilton. My Lord, it's a heat wave.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to be replaying the interview I had with Daryl Sims the other day, in which he's supposed to be a former CIA operative. Got that in brackets, gang? And he's supposed to be, and get this, an alien hunter. And it gets better, Doug. It gets better. He told me that there is a UFO that is circling the planet Earth that is 50 miles deep and 600 miles long. And this is just one of the small ones, because there are actually UFOs out there that are thousands of miles long.
God, I want to smoke what he's smoking. That's great.
Scares the hell out of me that these guys are actually claiming to be with the CIA.
Yeah.
Hey, alien hunters. Daryl Sims is up next here on the X Zone, at the request of you, the listener, and many of our affiliates, because they don't believe what they heard. But anyway, that's coming up next. And then I actually do have a real CIA officer coming on. Ishmael Jones is going to be on in hour number 4, and Dr. William Schneid, a criminologist, will be with me in hour number 3. We're going to be talking about the terrorist attacks in Russia, how the Russians are handling terrorism compared to how the United States handled terrorism. And we're also going to be talking about the militia arrests that were made by the FBI. That's still to come on this hour on this show. Doug Crowe is our special guest, and Doug has been with us. We're talking about self-help gurus or snake oilsmen, snake oil salesman. Geez, left to right, just can't read it anymore. And Doug, it seems that there are more snake oil salesmen out there than there are real self-help gurus by yourself. And if you'd like to get a copy of Doug's book, free for the X Zone Nation, www.bexy.org. Doug, what would you like to leave with the X Zone Nation? We've got about a minute.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on the show today. When your listeners are looking to, get something out of their life or to improve their health, wellness, success, just understand the agenda of the person that's talking to you. If they give you some content that you can actually use and don't charge you anything or don't expect anything in return, that's a good first start. I love getting referrals, references, real people you've actually met or talked to who've used it. That's always a good old-fashioned way of getting a reference. And all self-help starts within and ends there. It's not self-solution, it's self-help. So people can help you out, of course, but in the end, it's going to be up to you to make the changes you need to in your life. And accountability is the missing piece out there, and that's why I'm proud to give my accountability book to your listeners today.
Hey, Doug, I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much for that, but I have to ask you a question, and I know you're an honest man, so I know I can count on an honest answer. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a 600-mile long, 50-mile high UFO circling Earth?
It would be really exciting if there was, but no, we have radar now.
Doug, thanks very much for joining us. I'd love to have you back on in the future.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye now. All right, X Zone Nation, when we come back from this commercial break with the news, 6.5 minutes past the hour, Daryl Sims, the CIA, alien abductions, 1,000-mile-long UFOs. I wonder if he was a self-help guru in a past life. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away.